Hi, friends. Smash that subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment. Benny, where can they find us on social media?
Yeah, you can find us, Ray Benny Sports. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and of course, everyone's favorite TikTok. And don't forget to check out our discussions on Reddit.
No, Reddit, and leave some reviews on your favorite podcast provider. Let's start with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Preseason is underway, started already. So let's look at the Blue Bomber offense. Uh, you know, they were pretty good last year, but I think they'll be much better this year. Let's go position by position. Expectations, concerns, thoughts. Start with quarterback. Go ahead.
Yeah, of course, you got Zach Collaros coming back for another year, coming off his MOP award last year. I'm expecting a little bit more, hopefully, consistency out of him this year. He had some up and downs, some really good games. Some games where, you wonder what was going on. So I have no concern there at all, as long as he can stay healthy. If they have to go to Drew Brown at all, it could be a little bit touch and go. But with Zach Collaros there, I think the Bombers are in good shape.
Yeah, I think it's not hard to question a QB with an injury past like Zach Collaros and him being a year older to wonder. But I don't remember any time last year where I was like seeing signs of aging, where I was concerned about age. So I'm not too concerned about that. It's more about that injury pass and the concussion pass that I'm still worried about. But I think they're pretty comfortable at backup, actually. After seeing Drew Brown in that performance against BC last year in October, they didn't win the game, but they only lost by 8. And they came back into the game. The guy threw over for 300 yards, 3 TDs, a couple interceptions, one really early. But I'm really comfortable with that backup. It's that third position that's still not locked up yet, and they probably really won't know until they see them in the game.
Well, that's the thing. One thing Drew Brown struggled at last year was any short yardage stuff. He just didn't get low enough. He just didn't do good enough. But yeah, I do like what he's seen. He even led that drive for the winning field goal. It was in the first game of the season when Zach Collaros had to go out. Yeah. So hopefully they can find that third guy who's good at the short yardage stuff, because Prukop was fantastic at that.
Oh, he was very good at that. He's like, I can't remember the percentage, but him and Brown combined on short yardage situations was ridiculous. I think 16 for 16 on his own for like, oh, that's crazy. But they got Josh Jones at 6'3", 220, and they have Tyrell Pigroom, who I think had to leave because of a family thing, and then he just returned. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see for sure.
First game against Edmonton.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
How about running back? It's good to see that the Canadian backfield's back. Brady Oliveira, Johnny Augustine. No knock on Oliveira. He did find his form about midway through the season. He really got into rhythm, but I was still a little disappointed on the lack of uses of Johnny Augustine early. I don't know if they were holding off to really push Oliveira into getting into his own and finding his way, but hopefully I'd like to see more Johnny Augustine this year.
Yeah, I think that may be tough after, like you say, the season that Oliveira ended up having halfway through the season and into the playoffs. Like, he basically made us forget about Harris, and he looked like Harris out there at times. He took control of that backfield, and he never really let it go. And you very rarely saw Augustine late in the season at all, even after that, right? Yeah. So maybe they have something else where they can sprinkle stuff in for Augustine, but I think this is Oliveira's. I just want to go the Italian saying way of doing it, but this is his backfield. And it's his backfield to lose, basically.
I'm going to disagree. I don't think he made anybody forget about Harris. I don't think Oliveira even came in close to what Harris brought in regards to the two-dimensional game of being a great receiver as well. There was a big drop-off in the quality of rushing game from an older Andrew Harris to a Brady Oliveira. Like, they were middle of the pack in yards per game last year. The year before, they were like second.
Yeah,
definitely
not better than definitely not better than a younger Harris, for sure, not at all, or dominant Harris like he was in the first couple seasons of the Bombers. So, I do agree there for sure.
I am looking for Oliveira to take that next step up, and I do have confidence he will take that next step up. There's no questioning of that. His first year as full-time starter. It did take his time to get his full identity as a rusher, and also the O-line. He was new, and especially within the middle. Yeah. So that's no hate towards Oliveira. It's just a belief and hope that he'll take the next step forward. How about wide receiver? Oh, and they also have Greg McCrae, just in case something happens. He's a decent multi-receiving back as well.
Yeah, he's a great guy to throw in there every once in a while when you need a good kind of trick play or a big play or something. You're just putting something sneaky in, right? So
Exactly. Multi-receiver, multi-talented receiver, rusher. Wide receiver. Any concerns there?
no, I mean this group is stacked. And if guys get injured, there's the other guys to step up. Last year they went through a lot of injuries, so it was like who's up next. But they got enough talent here that there's not a huge drop off between guys that I think they'll be okay if depending on if anyone gets injured. But you got Kenny Lawler is obviously the guy. Dalton Schoen coming off his great rookie season, and you still got Bailey, Wolotarski, O'Leary Orange, plus Carlton Ogadosi, Denarian Grant to throw in there as well. I forgot to write the guy down they just traded for. Amare. Can't remember what it is. Yeah, apparently he's a dual kind of threat kind of guy too. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with him. But yeah, I have no concerns on this group.
Yeah, it's the best collection of receivers talent-wise that we've probably seen going into a season for a long time, if not ever.
Yeah.
It's debatable, but I don't think really much. But they have to deliver. But when you add a 1,000-yard receiver in a 14-game season like Lawler, I only think that makes you better.
Well, yeah, who do you zero in on here, right? Even if you want to go after Lawler, I mean, there's many guys here that can make moves, and hopefully Dalton Schoen just builds off of last year, right? And
absolutely,
shows us that it wasn't some kind of fluke or whatever, right?
Well, he's looking faster and better in training camp already. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. And Claros and him just hit it off last year, so I don't see that slowing down.
Yeah, it's gonna be a day, and that also benefits the running game.
Yeah,
and they can't focus on the line, and you have to have dropped linebackers to cover these, 4 receiver or sometimes 5 receiver sets. That'll give Oliveira a lot of room to work with. Especially at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and these guys are all selfless guys. Like they don't care if they have to block. Like if they're ready to block if they have to, So they're all up in there. They've all bought in, and that's why the Bombers lucky to have them all back.
Especially Rasheed Bailey. That dude can block. So even if you put him in a 5 receiver set, it's kind of like having a tight end. Yeah. And maybe even a tight end that can be out there a little. So that could be some interesting plays. Some send the back out, maybe pass in the flat, and you have a blocker there. Oh, crazy.
Well, I'm getting excited to see this offense. Hopefully Buck Pierce can get it all together.
For sure. So let's talk about the final component, my favorite component to talk about, the O-line. Dudes aren't too much of a concern to me. It's the middle again that I'd like to see take a step forward. Jeff Gray had a couple games where we're like, yo, what's going on there in the middle? Neufeld's going to be strong in the middle, of course, and we're looking for Chris Kolankowski to take a step forward at center.
Yeah, like you say, Jeff Gray started off slow last year, got better as the season went on. Last year was first full year as a starter, so we'll see what happens this year. I mean, they also got Liam Dobson still there, so he's going to build off of his play time last season as well. Neufeld strong. Kolankowski might be the question mark, but he did pretty good last season as well in his fill-in. Yeah. And then, of course, Stanley Bryan and Hardrick on the ends. I mean, struggled at times last year, but really got it together as the season went on. To me, the biggest thing, again, would be injuries here, right? Because you got some older guys on this line. So hopefully they can stay healthy and just have another all-star season.
I really like Kolankowski's play when Couture got hurt, which obviously made Couture expendable. They do believe in him, and he looked great. I think when past midway point of the season, he really came into form at center and was really comfortable. I was kind of not disappointed, but surprised that they put Couture back in later in the season and that they didn't keep playing that 6-man front that was dominating for a while. So I believe in Kolankowski. I think he'll be awesome.
Yeah, hopefully that O-line, there was some questionable plays last year. Like Laros took some big hits on guys rushing free and all that stuff. So hopefully that stuff gets figured out this year and not just the O-line guys if you bring in a 6 O-line, but other guys blocking and making the right reads and stuff like that.
Yeah. Let's move on. Let's have some fun. Let's talk about ChatGPT and their top 10 teams in CFL history. You can check us out actually on Twitter at Ray Benny Sports. And look at the official list at ChatG. I'm not going to go down that list because, to be honest, it's effed. Kids, you got to stop using this stuff to do your homework or whatever. Because some of these teams, of course, are no misses. They had Edmonton on there as a #1 team, that dynasty from 78 to 82. Absolutely cool. But when you put the Argos as dominating the 70s with 3 Grey Cups, and that never actually happened, with Joe Theismann, you have an issue there. So kids, please don't use Chat GPT.
Yeah, this thing needs some work. Holy, when I was going through the list, I was like, what happened here? I mean, half these teams didn't even win when they said they won or how many they won.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
Ken
like,
Plain, they didn't use Kenny Plain. They said Jack Jacobs won
yeah.
the Grey Cups in that string for Winnipeg.
Yeah, it's amazing what this thing. Apparently, it's supposed to be very smart, but apparently, it's pretty stupid at the same time.
People are getting A's in their university papers on this. That's not a very ringing endorsement for universities.
No, this thing needs some work. Maybe it just didn't know what the CFL was and it just threw out random stuff. I don't know, but
you have the whole internet to say they just don't know what they're doing. So if you were to meet Chat GPT face to face, what team would you say, hey, idiot, you totally missed this team on your top 10 list?
Well, this thing basically the way it did it was even building them as the best dynasties, really, right? Because even though it got a lot of them wrong, it never picked one team from one year. So me, I mean, there's still the Argos of the 90s, 96, 97, those teams. Absolutely. You know, it's hard to really pick one, but there's a lot I'd get rid of for some of these ones, like the Calgary late 90s, early 2000, Montreal 09 and 10 winning. You know, and then the Bombers, of course, today, plus, you know, the 80s to 90 run. You know, they had some really good teams there as well. So, there's so many things you can change here.
If they're putting teams that were better than more than 1 year, I'd have a tough time putting a singular 80s Bombers team because it was so different, especially with quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's true. Tom Clements, then you had Sean Salisbury, then you had Tom Burgess, and there were consistent players like James Murphy, James West, Stan Mikowas, Chris Walby, but they were a little different. So I couldn't quite put them in this list. And I kind of like how they categorized it with, you know, dominating years, even though a lot of them were wrong. I'd love to put Baltimore Stallions in there. You know, they did have 2 good seasons where they're more than 2 good seasons, but they had those 2 seasons where they were finalists and then Grey Cup champions. But what they also did was they set a foundation for a Montreal team. They lost pretty much half of their team when they went from Baltimore to Montreal because of the ratio. Mm-hmm. But that was a 20-year run where Montreal was consistently good with Tracy Ham and Anthony Calvillo, 20-plus-year run. So I think Baltimore definitely has to be there. And like you mentioned before, the Mark Trestman-led Alouettes of 09 and 10. They have to be there. They have to.
Yeah, the Montreal teams had a lot of good teams, right? They just couldn't finish it off and win the Grey Cup. So, that was a strong run for sure.
Doug Flutie with the Argos. That was sick. You know what? They scored twice as many points as they gave up.
That's crazy. They didn't even have to have a defense, really.
No, 18 points they only allowed, like 18 in the CFL.
Wow,
back in those days.
Yeah, that's
dominance. Shawn Lemon released. Jonathan Combo signed in BC. Where should Shawn Lemon go?
Yeah, it's crazy to think that the runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year right now is out of the CFL and doesn't have a team. And plus, he signed late too in BC, right? Like it wasn't right away a free agency, so. It's hard for me to say what the best landing spot. I think right now he's probably going to be sitting there waiting till after camp, and teams are going to realize, okay, we need a good edge rusher, or someone gets injured and there's a spot for him. So I think his best bet might be to wait for that kind of situation than joining a team, unless he wants to come to Winnipeg and win, you know, on a really reduced.
Well, Winnipeg's mine. Winnipeg is mine.
Okay, there you go.
Like without a doubt, Winnipeg is the best situation for this guy.
Yeah, if he wants to win.
Like he wants to win and also to excel. Like he'll be between Jeff Coate and Jefferson. You can't double in on Shawn Lemon when that happens. Yeah. And he can be more of a rotational player. He doesn't have to be there hardcore all the time. That's less punishment for him. He can relax and have a good time. Like I think Winnipeg is a perfect, like, of course they're biased. Of course. Yeah. But if you're going to go to a team and not worry about your scratch, I think, and have a good time, the culture's good here in Winnipeg, and win, you got to come to Winnipeg. That's a perfect situation for him here. You need to bet on that D-line.
Yeah, like you say, if he can take, I'm assuming he wasn't getting paid much in BC if they released him, and there's probably no guaranteed money in that, right? Otherwise, they don't
guaranteed money. Yeah,
they don't release him this quick. So I mean, maybe he did get some guaranteed at least a little. So then it makes him easier to stomach maybe a contract in Winnipeg because I mean, obviously they're pretty close to the cap here in Winnipeg or around there, right?
For sure.
It's tough to sign this guy to a top dollar contract, but if he wants to just come in and win and maybe put up a statistical season and get some money next year or something, but he's on the wrong age, right? He's getting older. So it's tough for it to guarantee him a longer contract. But yeah, Winnipeg would be fantastic.
Yeah, like I don't know. Toronto, defending Grey Cup champions, also go back to TO.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about the Winnipeg Jets a bit. Would you trade PLD to a division rival Pierre-Luc Dubois?
I mean, if that's where you're getting your best return, for sure. Like I don't
Yeah.
care where he's going at this point. You know, if you're getting a bundle for him, who knows, right? Chances are this could be a 1-year rental for any team that trades for him as well, right? Because if he still actually wants to go to Montreal, you just send him to the best place you can, and he'll spend a year there, and then he'll decide to do what from there.
So, I have no issue with that.
No.
Go ahead, trade him Colorado if they really want him.
Yeah,
go ahead. What has he proven? That he's a capable center when he tries, and he doesn't try all the time. So whatever, 60-point player a year, and when he gets sick and tired of being Colorado, I don't think winning is the thing for him. He just wants to be comfortable and loved. So whatever, trade him.
Yeah, get
Minnesota if you want.
Get as much as you can, man.
Absolutely,
you got to do that now. I mean, that's what this offseason's got to be. So,
talking about trades, should the Jets trade Hellebuyck? He has to go. This is no longer a retool. We're not bringing in pieces to make the current core better. The core has to be blown up. It's a rebuild, and you're not going to build a team around Hellebuyck. I'm sorry. Not many teams win it with a $10 million goalie. He doesn't like it here. That was pretty clear during COVID. He does not like being in Winnipeg and maybe even Canada. His value's at an all-time high. Yes, he has to go.
I would say no, but it is probably the best thing to do. I still love him as a player and a goalie. And he's one of the big reasons Jets have had a lot of success over the last couple of years, or any success. I mean, but yeah, his value is at the highest right now, coming off Vezina nomination. Not sure if he win, but if he wins, it'll be even higher. But you got to get that crazy haul for him now. The question is, what do you have though? Do they have someone with the Moose that can come in and play? Or are you going to get a goalie in return for Hellebuyck, or is there one to sign out in free agency, right? Because they'll need a strong goaltender, especially in this system with bonus. It still gave up a lot of shots last year, so you're not going to want a weak guy in there. But yeah, you got to cash in right now on Hellebuck's value.
If you're trading Hellebuyck, you're not really pushing for a championship next year, I don't think.
No.
So you bring in a goalie, you bring a free agent goalie, because this is the only player you're getting top value for on this roster. PLD, you're not going to get top value for. Wheeler, you're not going to get top value for. I'm kind of the mind that I still want Scheifele to stay, to be honest with you. I think that's cool if you can be happy with those losers out of the locker room. Yeah, I'm getting mad now. But yeah, I think they should absolutely trade him. Get as much value.
I don't think the Jets want the rebuild kind of thing, retool or anything. They think they could probably run it back again next year with this group.
If they run it back, fans will not come to the building. Fans will not come to the building if they run it back. Are you going to go to game one if they run it back with the same core?
No, I'm pretty much done with it as well. I need to see some guys gone.
They have to make movement, and that means they have to. This is not a retool. If a rebuild, I'm not saying you can't win in a rebuild. If they bring the right pieces, I'm not saying they still need a rider, and there's still some Lowry and some strong guys there.
Yeah,
but it's the foundation has to go.
Yeah, I want to see some trades from even some top prospects, the guys that have already been drafted, not draft picks only, because those are even a few years away than anything, right?
Yeah,
I want guys that are maybe a year or two away, not guys that are still going to be 3 or 4 years away. So
absolutely. Well, let's talk about a guy who might have been a year or two away, or 3 or 4, or maybe ever. Gawanke wants out, the defenseman on the Moose. And he's trashing the Winnipeg Jets organization on his way to Germany. Any thoughts on that? Of course, thoughts on that. What are your thoughts on that?
Not another good look for the Jets right now with a younger guy, a younger defenseman in the system. You're a draft and develop team here. You're drafting these guys, and then they're all wanting out. He's 23 years old. Is Hanel going to be next? And it looked like Gawanke, 20 goals last year, 25 assists in the AA. Not a bad season. Pretty good offensive-wise. So you have to give this guy a shot at some point. And if that was communicated or not communicated to him at all, that, hey, you're going to be back with the Moose again next year, that's not a good look. These guys want to play. They're 23.
Yeah. I personally did not buy into him. I didn't buy into his 20 goals that he scored in the AHL. I didn't see his spot in the 6th defenseman that we have. I didn't see him coming in the last few games, especially with them being on a playoff push. I don't know where his place would have been in that defensive unit, sitting from the press box and watching with Logan Stanley. So now he's complaining like a lot of young guys who have complained, and what have they done?
It depends. Like, yeah, not for this season, but it depends if he was told next season that there's no chance with Dylan Schmidt still there, Pionk. But man, I would definitely get rid of one of those guys to see what Gawanke could do in there in the NHL. You got these guys for a reason. You're drafting them because you think they're good. If you're never going to give them a chance in the NHL, what's the point? You know, and we're talking about cleaning house. Schmidt, Dylan, it's time for probably one of them to go at this point, you know, and give these young guys a chance. You even got Declan Chisholm there. Well, how long is it going to be till he wants out?
Yeah, Dylan and Schmidt, I think, are one of the few character guys you have on this team. I would not gamble them away to take a chance on Gawanke.
Yeah, but you gotta move some of those defenses. Are you moving Pionk then?
If you said Logan Stanley, I might have bought in a little more, but not those guys. I like those vets, and I really like Dylan actually during these playoffs. I think he's one of the only Hart guys who really actually showed some pushback in the playoffs. So I kind of bought into Dylan during the playoffs.
Oh, then Schmidt then. These guys are not enough skill to really keep some of these guys out and see what they can do at some point in the NHL. How long do these guys got to wait till they get to the NHL?
Yeah, well, he's not in, so he must not have been good enough, I guess, in the coach's eyes. Like Heinola.
I'm starting to question the whole Jets system on developing D right now. Who on that D has been drafted? Morrissey? Yeah. And then Stanley's your other guy, and he's terrible.
So then that's what's his face?
Plus you got rid of Jonathan Kovacevic. Yeah.
That's Shovel Day Off.
Like, that's
drafting
terrible.
Not good players.
Or never giving them a chance. Besides Logan Stanley.
I don't know. I haven't seen any of those.
Sorry, I totally forgot about Sandberg. Sandberg too.
Hey, he actually had a good. Yes, there we go. A little solid. Thoughts, Jets fans, on the defenseman leaving? Have the Jets mismanaged their assets, or have they just plain drafted horribly? Quick look into the NHL playoffs. How much trouble are the Hurricanes and Stars in?
Well, I mean, if we're going based off right now, the Hurricanes are about 3 minutes away from going 3 down in this series. So, I mean, if they end up losing in this game, they're obviously in big trouble. Big Bobrovsky, another solid game tonight, 31 saves, some wicked saves too tonight. He's been solid in that. So Carolina can win this game or come back, then, you know, they're definitely right back in this series, but losing this one, they're in trouble. Same with Dallas. And they've all been close games. All 4 games went to overtime, right? Yeah. The 1 goals, and they could have gone either way, basically. So they're not in trouble until that 3rd game is lost.
I was doing my stuff during the day, getting this ready. I was like, the Hurricanes are probably in the better situation to make this turnaround. But it's hard to say that now if they're down and Bobrovsky's hot again.
Oh, he's crazy hot.
Like, I was going to say that if I'm going to be a gambling person, I'd go with team hockey over a hot goalie, you know, with these 2 teams here. But I kind of gotta have to go with Bobrovsky now. He's playing hot again. Like, obviously the Hurricanes are in trouble. I just thought they would have been more weathered for the past 3-4 years with Brenda Moore and this team coming together and then finally getting some vets. I thought, okay, this is the year and they could weather the storm, but it doesn't look like it.
No, when you run into a brick wall in the playoffs, it's tough, man. We've seen these before, you know, like what was it, Jaguar in Anaheim, you know, years back. Urbe basically for Carolina. Florida just scored, so that's probably the game right there. Into an empty net. So goalies get hot and they can carry their teams all the way to the final and possibly win it. We'll see. But yeah, I'm sure Carolina is quite disappointed in this outcome.
I'm still cheering for Pomo. Why not? Why not?
He's riding that hot goalie, or maybe they didn't score. Maybe I'm wrong here. But yeah, he's definitely riding that hot goalie and a hot player in Keith Tkachuk.
Absolutely. He got that team humming.
Oh, sorry, Florida ended up getting a penalty, high sticking penalty.
Oh, that's not a goal.
Yeah.
Let's go talk about some NFL football for a tiny bit. NFL approves Thursday night flex. Thoughts?
Oh, good God, terrible. What are they doing? Like, why? We'll just leave it alone. I know it's all about money. It's all about greed, but
ratings.
Now you're also screwing up fans how are they going to buy tickets? Last second for these games? You know, like they buy tickets for Sunday. Now all of a sudden it's changed to Thursday. Like, what do you do?
Yeah. And even deeper than that, like once the schedule is released, there are fans who want to go on the road and check out their team on scheduled games that are like how many months away from now?
Yeah.
You're telling me they get a month's notice to say, oh, sorry, the game has been changed. Now all your accommodations and the tickets you bought and the vacation days you took at work are all effed. Like, what about that?
Yeah. And there's some people that might not be able to change their vacation days. Once they're set, they're set.
Yeah, like regular people.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just like, what about player safety and even fairness in the game? Like,
Oh
if
yeah.
chances are they're going to be rivalry games late in the year. It's a short week already to prepare. The road team has an even shorter week with travel. So if this is a divisional game with playoff implications, this is not fair ground.
No. And what was it? What was it last year? Was last year really the only year that the Thursday games actually were good or decent? Because every other year they've been terrible for the most part. So you're just going to ruin. And that's the thing. If it's a divisional game and it's a big game, you're just going to ruin a good game by moving it to Thursday.
You think players want to play on Thursday?
No, hell no. They don't want to play normally on Thursdays right now. Never mind having a flex and play 2 now a year.
Like, props to the
max is 2
Steelers for not fucking voting. Oops, for not voting. I'm swearing a lot for not voting for this stupidity. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
I said there is already, they can't play more than 2 now on Thursdays or whatever. I mean, I think it was only 1 before, but still terrible.
Horrible move, NFL.
Yeah.
Dubas out in Toronto. Good move.
You know what? I think for both parties, it ends up being a good move. In his presser, he looked done. He looked defeated. And I know it's coming off a season. It's probably tough to do a press conference right after that, right? But he looked done and defeated. The way it all went down was not good. From what it sounds like, they created a mess. Shanahan, I don't know if Shanahan took offense to something here and then decided to fire him, but it sounded like Dubas wanted back. Agent wanted more money. Shanahan said, screw you. See you later. You're fired. You know, what's the reason? What's the big reason here? So
the big reason is Dubas and his team are stupid. Like, whether it be the pressure on his family, the market, or his salary, they weren't organized. Shanahan tried to have open communication with him personally, and that wasn't working. What a joke. He screwed himself. He screwed himself.
Maybe he was trying to push Shani out of the way.
Yeah, because he wanted to streamline communications and make decisions, right?
Oh, yeah. Why not? Sorry. I mean, if you still got to answer to another boss and another boss all the time you want to do something, for sure you'd want to get rid of those guys.
Look how the streamlined approach works in Winnipeg. How good is that?
Oh, is it good?
No, it's not good. That's the problem. We have a GM who is in the owner's ear. Like, come on.
Well, when we were talking about Pittsburgh GM hires, I threw Kyle Dubas in there. So, he's going for an interview now. I think they agreed to let him interview. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, go ahead. I don't like them. It's fine. Brickhead, you got a brickhead?
Yeah, I'm going to give this brickhead out to Joe Veleno, who ended up getting suspended 5 games in the World Championships for basically taking his foot, his skate, and trying to cut some guy's ankle to his foot off in the game against Switzerland. Was it Nino Niederreiter that he did it to, or no?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So what are you doing, man? So Joe Veleno, you're my brickhead of the week. Guy should have been banned from the tourney and probably for life.
Yeah. What a joker. The hockey gods punished Canada with a loss.
Yeah.
Was it to Norway?
To Norway. Second time they've ever lost to Norway.
See what happens? That's what happens. Revenge. What a bum. I'm going to give a rare brickhead. This is going to the whole La Liga in Spain. That's Spain's premier soccer league, just for allowing racism to happen. We talked about this last week in another European league. It's happening again, where Vinicius Jr., who plays for Real Madrid, they were playing in Valencia, and fans were chanting, Vinicius die, and Vinicius is a monkey. Like, that's ridiculous. And people want to say, oh, don't worry, the police are on it. It's not about the police, man. Fuck the police. This league has a responsibility to protect its players. He should not be going in a racially hostile work environment. Like, this really pisses me off. Like, owners must be punished. Fans cannot be allowed in the stadium. And teams should not be punished when their players want to walk off the field for bullshit like this. That's what I got to say. That's my brickhead in La Liga.
Yeah, totally agree. Players should be walking off, and it may not be the guy who's getting racially abused, but someone's got to step off and walk off. And something more has got to be done at this point, because it's not ending anytime soon there.
Yeah. How sad is it that you have to punish someone's money for them to actually make actions happen?
Yeah. It's terrible, man. Terrible.
Stupid. Let's leave on a good note before I get way angry and pour water on my computer. You got a shout out?
I'm going to shout out the Winnipeg Gold Eyes, who kicked off their season not too long ago, and just over this past weekend kicked off their home portion to the season. So good luck to them this season.
I can't wait to get back to the Gold Ice Field. What's it called? Shaw Park.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go check out some games too.
And again, all Manitoba beer, good value. Oh, I can't wait to get back to the park.
Yeah.
I'm going to give a shout out to a lot of new inductees to the Manitoba Football Hall of Fame, but especially, of course, to the legend Bob Irving. We all know him as the voice of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers for almost all of our fans' lives, who watch us at least. So shout out to Bob Irving. Also, Paul Bennett, who played for the Bombers as an inductee. I'm going to name them all. Leo Ezrins, also the 84 Mustangs team. Holy cow, there are a lot of them. Brett Irwin, Brownie Krochak, George Kuznicek, Lauren Lajamodier, Stu Nixon, Dennis Walitsky, Jennifer Romanov, and Glenn Scrivener. Remember Glenn Scrivener?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
For Ottawa and the Bombers.
Yeah.
So they're all going to the Manitoba Football Hall of Fame. Sorry if I butchered anyone's names, and I did. Benny, you got anything to say to our friends?
Yeah, before I shout out here, we go away here. Florida ended up winning, so they're up 3-0 in the series. A big 1-0 win in Game 3. Crazy, unreal. Go Pomo, I guess.
Wow, your boy Pomo is lining it up, and I'm loving it. And to steal the words of LeVar Burton, we'll see you next time.
Hey, friends and neighbors, don't forget to check us out online on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Ray Benny Sports. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. Leave a like, leave a comment, tell us what you think.